Hi there, Kim from Patio Pleasures. I wanted to go through the filter valve for your sand filter. Kind of give you a rundown of what each of these settings are for, when you use them. We'll start with filter. Filter is what it's going to be on 90% of the time. So filter, basically the water comes in from the pump into the filter, down through the media, whether it's glass or sand. And then that water comes through the bottom, and then there's little fingers at the bottom of the filter. It comes up and then it goes back out into the pool. So it goes from the skimmer to the pump to the filter, and then the filter through the filter media, and then back to the pool. So that's kind of where you're going to be at 99% of the time. We're just going to kind of go through each one of these settings in order. The next setting is rinse. Rinse is the same as filter, but instead of the water going into the pool, rinse is actually going to be going out the backwash port. You use that after you backwash. The next setting is recirculate. What recirculate does is the water comes from the skimmer into the pump, into the valve. It bypasses the filter and then straight out into the return line and back into the pool. So if you ever had a filter related issue, or like say, even if the filter was cracked, you would put it on recirculate to keep the water moving, so you can fix what's needed. If you had a leak at your drain, or you're missing your drain cap when you open the pool, that kind of weird stuff can happen. You just use recirculate to keep the water moving. The next setting is backwash. Backwash basically reverses the flow of the filter and goes out the backwash port. That's what you use to clean the filter media, whether it be sand or glass. Watch the video on the backwashing on how to do that if you need directions on that. The closed setting, so if for instance you needed to isolate the pump, you could shut the pump off. You would never use the pump in the closed position with it on. Turn it to closed, and then it won't let water in or out of the tank. So it closes the valve. The next setting is called waste. If you get, say, a lot of rain, which we've had a lot this year, thankfully, the water gets too high on the skimmer, and what you do is you shut the pump off, you move it to the waste position, and then what happens is the water comes from the skimmer to the pump, into the valve, and then straight out the backwash port. It bypasses the filter, it just drains the water down. So that's what the waste setting does. You can also use the waste setting actually to vacuum manually your pool if you've got a bunch of debris in there that you don't want to shoot into the filter. You'd vacuum it up, and then it go into the pump, into the valve, it bypasses the filter, and goes straight out of the pool. The last setting on there is called Winterize. Winterize is what you always want to put the filter in at the end of the year. And what it does is actually lifts the filter into the up position. So it lifts the valve up so it doesn't stick all winter long with it into the down position. It just makes your valve healthier in the spring when you go to open the pool. And that's the main part of the valve. The one thing I want you to remember, whenever you do change this valve, if you shut the pump off and you leave it in waste, backwash, or rinse with the filter off, water will keep draining out your backwash port. It needs to be in the filter mode or technically recirculate mode for the water not to be draining out your backwash with your valve. So you always want to leave that in filter or theoretically recirculate, but 99% of the time, we're close to 100, it's going to be in filter. So thank you, have a great day.